Hello everyone and welcome back to the Kouture Masterclass series. My name is Bethany and today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about sustainability in the fashion industry. So some of you may remember the Pretty Little Thing Black Friday sale a couple of weeks ago. I'd say some of you got some pretty amazing deals, right? 99% off and something selling for as little as 8 cents. What an absolute bargain. But at what cost? Have you ever stopped to think about how is that even physically possible to buy something for 8 cents? Think about it. What goes into selling a garment? The fabric, the designer, the manufacturer, the garment workers, the packaging, the production workers, the shipping. Do you reckon 8 cents is enough to cover this? If your answer is no, is it enough to even cover the workers who made the outfit? This is a prime example of everything that is wrong with the industry. So let's dive into this a little bit more. The perpetuating cycle of overproduction and consumption relies on the use of natural resources that contribute substantially to environmental degradation. The whole fast fashion value chain, from manufacturing to delivery, all plays a role in the destruction of ecosystems and increased pollution. Is an outrageously cheap garment truly worth the depletion of our water, soil, and air? Fashion industry produces 10% of global carbon dioxide emissions every year and used an estimated 1.5 trillion litres of water annually. According to Greenpeace, enough textiles to fill a rubbish truck get sent to landfill or burned every second. When the cost of clothing is staggeringly low, you have to wonder about the human cost of making that garment and whether it comes from a supply chain of exploitation. Remember, when you see clothes selling for cheap, this always comes with a cost to people and the planet. On top of that, washing, solvents and dyes used in manufacturing are responsible for 1/5 of industrial water pollution. Nearly 70 million barrels of oil are used every year to make the world's polyester fibre, which is now the most commonly used fibre in our clothing. But it takes more than 200 years to decompose. Fashion accounts for 20 to 35% of microplastic flows into the ocean, and 63% of textile fibres are derived from petrochemicals. We have known this for decades. Most of our clothes are made in countries in which workers' rights are limited or non-existent. In fact, production sites are regularly moving locations, on the lookout for even cheaper labour costs. We often hear company owners saying that for these workers it's better than nothing, at least we give them a job. And to a certain extent, they are right. But it is also right to say that they are exploiting the miserable and taking advantage of poor populations who have no choice but to work for any salary in any working conditions. In Bangladesh, over 3 million people, 85% of whom are women, work in the garment industry. According to a 2011 survey conducted by warrenwant.org, a garment factory helper's wage starts at just £25 a month, with sewing operators earning just £32 a month. This is far below a living wage. 80% of workers work until 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. after starting at 8 a.m. 3/4 of the women workers they spoke to had been verbally abused at work and half had been beaten. On the 24th of April 2013, the collapse of the Rana Plaza building in Dhaka, Bangladesh, which housed 5 garment factories, killed at least 1,132 people and injured more than 2,500. Only 5 months earlier, at least 112 workers had lost their lives in another tragic accident, trapped inside the burning Tazreen Fashions factory on the outskirts of Dhaka. Most of these factories do not meet standards required by the building and construction legislation. As a result, deaths from fire incidents and building collapses are frequent. Since the Rana Plaza disaster, no fewer than 109 accidents have occurred. Among these, at least 35 were textile factory incidences, in which 491 workers were injured and 27 lost their lives. In the absence of a well-functioning labour inspection system and of appropriate enforcement mechanisms, decent work and life and dignity are still far from reality for the vast majority of workers in the garment industry and their families. Some brands that were reported to be using the Rana Plaza factories are Benetton, Mango, Matalan and Primark. Every year, more than 80 billion articles of clothing are produced and sold around the world. That means that every year, billions of used articles of clothing are thrown away to make room for new ones. This is an unfortunate waste of valuable resources, and here's why. It takes 700 gallons of water to make a cotton shirt. It takes a lot of water to produce the cotton needed to make clothes.
To put these numbers in perspective, the amount of water needed to make a t-shirt is enough for one person to stay hydrated for 900 days. Around 30% of clothing in wardrobes has not been worn for at least a year. The cost of this unused clothing in the wardrobe is estimated to be around £30 billion. An estimated £140 million worth, around 350,000 tonnes of used clothing goes to landfill in the UK every year. Clothes can take up to 200 years to decompose. Once we throw out our clothes, we accept the fact that we'll never see them again. However, just because our discarded clothes are no longer in our lives, it doesn't mean they've disappeared. While some materials take longer to decompose than others, all have harmful effects for the environment. In addition to releasing gases like methane, most fabrics are made with dyes and chemicals that can contaminate the soil and water in the ground. Have you ever heard of the Blue Dogs of Mumbai? When dogs in Taloja, India, in August of 2017 began walking around with bright blue fur, residents began to take notice. Concern about the dogs and fear that the dye could be a dangerous pollutant, it was quickly evident on social media and in local news reports. According to reporting from the Hindustan Times, the dogs were likely affected by untreated industrial waste that had been allegedly dumped by one company in the nearby Kasadi River. During the dyeing process, a large percentage of the dye does not bind to the fabric and it is lost to the wastewater stream. Approximately 10 to 15% of the dye is released into the environment during the dyeing process, making the water highly coloured and aesthetically unpleasant. Such was the case in 2011 in northern China, when the Jian River turned red as the result of an illegal dye dump from a local chemical plant. Local residents and farmers near rivers which have been turned different colours have reported health problems and wonder if the food they are obliged to grow in nearby fields is safe to eat. Reporting also that all the fish have died and the lifeless river turned to sludge. The dyeing process discharges many chemicals through the polluted water and chemicals, which results in the death of aquatic life, the ruining of soils and poisoning of drinking water. The environmental impact of the dyeing process is significant and the laws that are in place have been seen to not be well enforced. So, do you still want to buy that 8-cent dress? I know it feels like there's nothing that we can do to stop all these horrible things that are happening. But by making simple changes in your purchasing habits, you can break the cycle of fast fashion. Because essentially all these companies want is your money. So therefore, you have the power by making conscious purchasing habits. So what can we do to help? Well, we can buy less and wear more. As the Fixing Fashion report says, the most sustainable garment is the one we already own. So by extending the active life of 50% of UK clothing by 9 months, we would save 8% carbon, 10% water, and 4% waste per metric tonne of clothing. Also, read the label. Petroleum-based synthetic fibres like polyester require less water and land than cotton, but they emit more greenhouse gases per kilogram. Make sure to buy natural and/or organic fabrics such as organic cotton, linen, wool, silk, cupro, bamboo, modal, and hemp. Shop second-hand in vintage stores and charity shops. In 2017, the UK's 11,000 charity shops saved 330,000 metric tonnes of textiles from landfill and helped to cut carbon emissions by millions of tonnes a year through reusing and recycling second-hand clothing. Watch your washing. A 6-kilogram domestic wash has the potential to release as many as 700,000 fibres into the environment, which should make you think twice before you pop stuff in the laundry you've only worn once. Washing at a lower temperature uses less energy, and adopting simple habits like turning clothes inside out will increase wearability. Shop small independent businesses. By shopping small, you are supporting slow fashion. Slow fashion is the movement of designing, creating and buying garments for quality and longevity. It encourages slower production schedules, fair wages, lower carbon footprint, and ideally zero waste. But make sure you do your research. Lastly, do be careful of greenwashing, guys. Greenwashing is when a company tries to make people believe that they are doing more to protect the environment than they really are. While some greenwashing is unintentional and results from a lack of knowledge about what sustainability truly is, it is often intentionally carried out through a wide range of marketing and PR efforts. But the common denominator among all greenwashing is that it is not only misleading, but it's also really not helping to further sustainable design or circular economy initiatives. Thus, environmental problems stay the same or more likely get even worse, as greenwashing often sucks up airtime and misdirects well-intentioned customers down the wrong path.
So there you have it, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this and that you managed to take something away from it. I do encourage you to do some research. There's tons of documentaries on this and loads of articles, so get informed, and knowledge is power, and what you're doing is great, even competing in Junk Kouture itself, as this promotes sustainable design. So best of luck with everything, and hopefully see you guys soon.